As early as 1928, the communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric. By constantly probing and straining at this one spot, they calculated that eventually the cloth could be torn apart and that Americans could be divided, weakened, and perhaps even set against each other in open combat. We mustn't kid ourselves into thinking that the communists have placed their agitators only into the black communities. They're working both sides of the street. They want hatred, violence, and bloodshed between the races, and they don't care how they get it or whom they use, even children if necessary.
The idea is to create a situation where the people are so frightened of the violence all around them that they will begin to throw their hands up in the air and demand, "Federal government, do something." And the only choice open will be martial law. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, to the house of David. It's your brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. And what I just read there was a small little quote from the documentary, A Capitalist Conspiracy by G. Edward Griffin. Okay, and he goes into how these elites are able to, through methods like problem, reaction, solution, which we're going to tackle in this lesson, they're able to bring about means, or in this case, situations that normally wouldn't have been allowed by the public under normal circumstances. Okay, so they create a problem, and based on the reaction of the people, they come up with a solution. And when you look at the solution, it never works in favor of the people. It actually works against the people. All right, and we're seeing this trend, especially since CV, because that was the starting point of them openly, we use the word overtly, showing you how problem, reaction, solution works. Okay, and from time to time, even the apostles always bring out how these elites are not, they're not deep with their thoughts or anything like that. They go about using the same tactics, with deception and witchcraft and the media, and it works. Okay, but lately it's not working like it used to. So the alarm bells are going off, and of course they're pointing their fingers at the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, right? Ultimately, their lies being exposed, all right, is being labeled as anti-Sem, right? Is being labeled as hate speech, is being labeled as domestic T-ism, is being labeled as radical online misinformation that's fueling people to act in, certain dangerous ways, right? Fueling ideologies and so on and so forth, right? So we know, all right, ultimately how this devil is going to bring about his draconian police state. Okay, and we're seeing all these things come to pass, all encompassing the beast system. Okay, because the beast system is an anti-Messiah system being set up through AI by people and companies and corporations like that of the World Economic Forum and so on and so forth. Okay, now we're going to focus on prime reaction solution. Okay, now what is prime reaction solution? Prime reaction solution, otherwise known as P.R.S. All right, and I'm going to title this video, or this lesson is going to be a perfect example of P.R.S. Gideon AI. Okay, that's what we're going to focus more on. Okay, Gideon AI. And I did mention in my previous video that I was going to tackle this. So through the spirit, we're gonna jump on it. All right. It says prime reaction solution, or P.R.S, is a concept often described as a strategy where a problem is created or exploited, leading to a public reaction demanding action, which is then followed by a solution that fulfills a hidden agenda, typically involving an increase in power or control. Okay. So what you're seeing, or what you've been seeing, and what is that thing that you've been seeing, is these so-called mass shootings. All right. And over the past couple of days, states like Illinois and New York, of course, right? Chicago is in Illinois, and of course, New York City is in New York. ironically, the very two states that DJ Trump said he's going to be sending the troops in very soon happen to be states that just had a whole bunch of violence happen during Labor Day. Okay. And it's not just them. All right. Now, I remember this a few weeks ago. Brothers was even mentioning, I believe the brother Bukar mentioned how all of a sudden it seems like we're hearing all these shootings and stabbings and violent behavior out of nowhere. Right. And we clarified and said that that's not something that's just randomly happening. No, these are things that happens all the time, but to fit the narrative of, oh, the cities are crime ridden and we need to come in there with the troops to put the crime down. And in order for us to come in and do that, right, we have to put it in the people's faces that look at all the madness that's going on. Okay, you're not safe. You know you're not safe. And you're gonna have those who are, still in the left-right paradigm. In this case, right, the Republicans saying that, oh, look, the cities are crazy. Trump, you're right. You should bring in the troops to come in and quell this madness and this violence. Now, if the Democrats were to be trying to instill this, the Republicans would turn around and say, oh, you can't do that. That's unconstitutional. Are you kidding me? Like, no, you can't send the troops in to come and instill order. You see? But nonetheless, if you notice, since Obama's time and prior, you've had a lot of so-called mass shootings, but it really picked up during his time. Okay? Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, same thing. Okay? Same thing, which is mass shootings keep on happening with, no changes at all. Okay? But that's all done by design, because let's read this, okay? Real quick. It says, mass shootings are incidents involving multiple victims of firearm-related violence. Definitions vary with no single broadly accepted definition. One definition is an act of public firearm violence, excluding gang killings, domestic violence, or T-acts sponsored by an organization in which a shooter KIL or unalives at least 4 victims. Using this definition, a 2016 study found that nearly 1/3 of the world's public mass unalivings between 1966 and 2012, 90 of 292 incidents occurred in the United States. In 2017, the New York Times recorded the same total of mass unalivings for that span of years. Okay, so in 2017, right, you said they had 90 of the 292 incidents between 1966 and 2012. Okay, of all so-called mass unalivings, world public unalivings were 292 from the span of 1966 to 2012, and that's going by the definition of, firearm violence, gun violence, right? Not including gang unalivings or domestic unalivings or T-attacks sponsored by organizations, with somebody unaliving someone at least with 4 victims. All right, so you have to fit that category in order for it to become a mass unaliving. Okay, hope I didn't confuse anyone there. But from 1966 to 2012, 90 of the 292 incidents occurred in the United States. In 2017 alone, 90 occurred within that same year. Okay, so according to the New York Times. All right, according to the New York Times. Now, just a few of them right here. Some of the deadliest mass unalivings that occurred in the United States. All right, the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, the Orlando nightclub unalivings, the Virginia Tech unalivings, the Sandy Hook Elementary School unalivings, and the 2019 El Paso unalivings. Okay, these are all what I call problem, reaction, solution stages. Okay, because normal people don't go around with a certain specific type of weapon to keep doing the same exact thing and leaving manifestos, and then they have mental issue problems, and then they unalive themselves before anything can ever happen. Typically, when crime occurs, right, when somebody commits a crime, they get apprehended, and then you go through the process, they call it due process, which we know it's unjust, but again, due process, right? They go through all that. And then whatever judgment that they have to face, whatever penalties they have to face, it's exacted upon them and you're good to go, right? But for some reason, whenever it comes to these mass unalivings, it's always the same pattern. It's not a coincidence. It's not, something that's happening by chance. It's a pattern, meaning it's designed for a specific outcome. And they keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. And you notice as people get used to it, it becomes more frequent because you become desensitized to these things, right? You become desensitized to these things. And the more desensitized you are to it, the more violent they have to make it in order for you to get a reaction. See? So you have all these things going on. And of course, you have the FBI coming in and saying, oh, look at all these things that's happening. We need to find something. And we need to, the perpetrators generally just commit suicide and, or sometimes they're restrained or unalived by law enforcement officers. Why would they do that? We don't know. Oh, we're trying to keep the people safe. Then no, apprehend the person, find out what's really going on, and then deal from there. Right? Why did they really do this? Don't give us some mysterious, few hours after the thing happens. Oh, he had a manifesto and he went online and, he was radicalized by some fringe group online. And we don't want to hear the same bullshit. Okay. That's just a narrative. We don't want to hear that. Do your jobs. You FBI agents out there, do your actual jobs. Okay. But we know you're not going to do that because you're all bought and paid for anyway. You're a whole bunch of scammers, a whole bunch of frauds, a whole bunch of cowards. Okay. That's all these agents, all these agencies, all these owners and, CEOs and all that. A lot of them we've said this before, they're weird. They're awkward. Okay. A lot of them, like actual real people, they're very weird. They're strange. Okay. They got demons on them. All right. They're not normal people. Okay. So it's like you're all these net techie guys, who made you gods on this earth? And what do you know about the concept of being a god on this earth? You have no concept of actual righteous rulership in you. How the hell do you jump on this position to say that, give us all the power and then we can make good come out of that? Who the hell are you? And why should anyone trust you devils? We've seen what you've done with the little power that you have. So imagine if you had it all, right? Imagine a nigga like Alex Karp. Talking about he has all the power of surveillance and he can bring good out of what he's created. There's no good that could come out of what you created. It was created by a devil who knows no good. Okay? Like the saying goes, if the only tool that you have is a hammer, then every problem has to be a nail. Right? You devils have no good in you. Everything you create, that's why you're known as the son of perdition. Okay? The man of sin. All right? You can't trust a man of sin to bring out good. Why would he want to bring out good? That's not his purpose. So all these fools that fall for these tricks, that's on you. Okay? That is on you. All right. So now we just got a little information on the so-called mass unalivings, right? You've seen the frequency of it. Just in 2017 alone, you had a whole bunch of stuff that happened, right? And post 2017, I remember who was in presidency during 2017? The same guy who's president right now. Okay. And he's the one who's pushing for all these things to play out. One of these things that's going to be playing out soon is this right here. All right. And before I go into it, let me get a quick precept here. All right. It's the book of Psalm chapter 11 and verse 2. It says, "For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privately shoot at the upright in heart." Okay, so they set up all these different things, these so-called AI infrastructure to so-called protect and thwart crime before they happen. So the crime hasn't happened yet, so there are no criminals, but this guy right here could potentially have committed a crime, so we stopped him before. So we made you a criminal before you even committed a crime. Oh, because we were online, we're spying on you. We found out that, you believe in the Bible and so on and so forth. So you do have tendencies to be potentially been radicalized. So we stopped by your house to check in, make sure everything is good. Just making sure, right? And it's not just you, it's multiple people, Yeah. So that's what these devils are doing. Okay, that's what these devils are doing. All right, continuing verse 3, Psalm 11:3 says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Right, so the foundation is going into what? As it's written in Psalms 82:5. All right, the whole earth is out of course. All right, they know not, neither will they consider the whole earth is out of course. The foundations of the earth, everything is upside down. Okay, because why? Righteous order has been turned into wickedness. All right, and wickedness has been turned into righteousness. Everything is turned upside down. Okay, so when you have the wicked in rulership, they will inevitably turn around the order of nature. Okay, how things are supposed to be done, the modus operandi of nature, so to speak. This devil has destroyed it all. Okay, he said women are going to be over men, children can transition. Okay, you don't have to have a god. You can be your god on your own, right? They've created this whole AI world talking about making the organic inorganic, right? They've blasphemed. They've blasphemed the name of the Heavenly Father and His Son and the angels and His children, okay? By calling themselves the J's and painting the pictures and all they've done evil to sway the minds of so-called public opinion for years, for decades, for centuries. Okay, they've programmed the minds of the public, all right, to go against anything that's considered righteous. All right, ultimately the truth, especially the truth of the Bible. Okay, so this is a cunningly, all right, devised scheme. All right, but as is written, okay, the Lord Yahweh is in His holy temple. The Lord Yahweh's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold. His eyelids try the children of men, right? So the Most High is going to try this. Okay, He's going to examine this, and He does it on a daily basis. But ultimately, there's going to come a day of judgment. All right, and that day of judgment is fast approaching on you devils, man. All right, verse 5, the Lord Yahweh trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. Okay, that's why they're trying to demonize that word hate. Okay, because that word hate, all right, you there's a verse in the Bible that you could type in Esau and you could type in hate, but you're not going to see that with Jacob though. Okay, right? The Lord hates Jacob. Nah, He loves Jacob and He hates Esau. All right, it says verse 6, upon the wicked He shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup, and that's talking about ultimately that last day of destruction. Okay, when the thermonuclear destruction grabs a hold of this place. Okay, for the righteous Lord Yahweh loveth righteousness, His countenance doth behold the upright. Okay, and today we're going to be focusing a lot more in the book of Psalm, because King David was cooking these devils, man. All right, but I'm going to go into this real quick. All right, going into that AI, the Gideon AI thing. All right, we're going to read a little bit about it, and we're going to get out of here from there. All right, it says, threat detection theatrics, Aaron Cohen's AI surveillance tool and domestic spy machines, right? And going back to a prime reaction solution, this is something that they've always wanted to bring out. And when I say they, I'm talking about these so-called world elites, okay? Through their technology, all right, through their system, all right, systema, okay? An order of doing things, all right? They're changing the way of doing things into a new way of doing things, which is going to be a controlled grid, governed through technology / AI, all right, through a very scrutinizing method of governance. Okay, everything you do is going to be surveilled, is going to be watched, is going to be listened to. Okay, it's going to be scrutinized. Okay, it's going to be critiqued. All right, and it's not going to be done by a person. It's going to be done through machines, which means you're going to have to be in some form of parameters in order to be, considered either a good citizen or a bad citizen. Okay, biometrics. All right, and when machines are in charge of behavior, otherwise known as censorship, okay, it automatically changes people's behavior. Okay, knowingly, there's a video that I actually saw where I'll see if I can put it in post-production if I still have it, right? But there was this video where you had this it was a prank where these girls go around and they have this ugly ass picture of babies, right? Nasty looking shit. and definitely women bringing forth monsters, ugly looking things, and they'll show it to their older family members, whether it be their mother or grandparents or whatever the case may be, and their instant reaction is, oh God, that's god awful, right? It's like, oh, that's an ugly ass baby. And then as soon as the girl tells them, oh, stop, that's FaceTime, the people's reaction changes. You see, it goes from, oh, that's an ugly baby, to now they either want to hide their face from the camera because they just looked at a baby and said, oh, that's a baby, that's an ugly baby. That was their true reaction. But now that they're being told consciously, yo, that's FaceTime, meaning your face is on camera, somebody's watching you, somebody's on the other end watching you and listening to what you just said, they change their tune. You see, they change their tune and say, oh, that's a beautiful baby. You know, I'm like, you know, that's not true. You know, another one, they just hide their face completely because they're like, oh shit, I just said the baby's ugly, but the baby is ugly, but I could say, oh, the baby's nice, and then just hide my face. Because people are programmed to be accepting through societal norms, right? I don't want confrontation. That's the average person in America. Oh, I want to avoid confrontation, even if they're right and everybody else is wrong. For them to stand up and be the one to vocalize the wrong that they're seeing, they'd rather just go along with the crowd, right? Because they don't want to be singled out. You know, like today, for example, at this time, it was yesterday, we received an email from work, right? And they put a whole list. And when I saw the list, I'm like, wait, tell me, why is my name on this shit? So I got mad, you know, so I'm like, wait, tell me, I don't want to be on this shit. So I read the list over and over again, and I kept looking at specific details. I'm like, yo, this does not reflect my work. So why am I here, right? So I'm looking at it, and I look back on the month that they had posted it, and I said, oh, wait, this is not even a recent thing. This is like going, was it a year ago? So I texted the manager, and I said, yo, the list that you sent on there, is that updated or am I bugging? He said, yeah, that's the update. That's from this month. So anything that's reflecting the last 30 days, you know, if you have your name on there, you know, we're going to have a conversation. So I'm reading this shit and I'm like, time out. This shit says April of last year. How the hell you tell? So then when I texted him back, I said, yo, this shit, and nobody knew. He said in the whole group chat, all the people in there, and nobody said anything. So when I said something, he went back and he corrected it. He said, oh, sorry guys. Yeah, that was a wrong list. Whatever. I'm going to send you guys the updated list when I get the chance. Okay. And then till now, we haven't seen the updated list, but I'm assuming that updated list is going to reflect much more on what I'm expecting to see, which would be the right thing. Right. But I'm saying to myself, and again, example of, if nobody says anything, even if what you're seeing is wrong and nobody says anything, it's just going to keep on working like nothing ever happened. Because normally, if something is going wrong, you would expect people to stand up and say, hey, there's something going on here that we got to pay attention to, right? And that brings the alarm and the attention, all right, to those who might not even have seen it. You see what I'm saying? But in this society, in this world, it's just, oh, just shut up and mind your own business. You don't want no problems. Just mind your own business. You see, that's why the men of the Lord have become the issue, because we don't play to societal norms and conform to the ways of this world. Okay. So that's why calling out these things is not a problem. We're not afraid to speak the truth. You know, you got people who say, oh, you know, they censor themselves. All right. When you censor yourself, this goes back to Roman practices. Okay. Because we are in Rome all over again. Censorship goes back to Roman practices. Okay. Of moral and behavior, governance, so to speak. Okay. So let's read this here. It says, threat detection theatrics, Aaron Cohen's AI surveillance tool and domestic spy machines. In a story that's equal parts dystopian and deja vu, Aaron Cohen, and I mentioned him in my last video, it's very crazy how they use these names. Okay, Aaron Cohen. Just remember, these names are not, they don't just pick these names out of nowhere. Okay, like a company like Palantir. Palantir they didn't just pick up a name out of nowhere. Palantir simply literally means, if you go into it, it means all-seeing eye. All right, all-seeing what? That's panopticon. That's digital global surveillance. Okay, from the Lord of the Rings. All right, it says Aaron Cohen, which Aaron goes to the priest Aaron, okay, and then Cohen, all right, Kahan, priest, literally, priest Aaron, all right. So what kind of priest are we talking about here? A priest on the left-hand side. All right, this nigga's a devil, man. All right, these people, they're demons, bro. Okay? Aaron Cohen, a former IDF operative and actor, okay, turned Fox News commentator, recently pitched an AI-powered threat detection system. I think he's the big threat right here. We gotta, you know, it's designed to preemptively identify mass shooters, mass unalivers, and domestic threats. You hear that? And it's very interesting. Why is that happening now? Why do you wait till a shooting that happened in Minneapolis, all right, in a church called Annunciation, right? Very interesting. Annunciation. What are you going to announce after this event happened? Annunciation, right? This comes out of it. And I said it in the video I did addressing that so-called mass shooting and, you know, debunking it for what it was, okay? We said that, let's wait and see what is going to be announced after this Annunciation situation. And now look, this was being announced, okay? Some type of AI-powered threat detection system. And it happened after another mass shooting, right? Interesting. It says, the system, if implemented, would reportedly draw on public available data, social media, purchase histories, online behavior, and run it through a proprietary model trained to flag pre-attack indicators. This is the latest in the growing private sector surveillance grid aimed at American citizens, operating under the guise of public safety. Okay? And remember, it tells you that in the book of Psalm, where it talks about, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let's see if we can get it. Let's see if we can get it. Oh, shit, hold on. I believe it's Psalm, the 10th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. All right, but the whole chapter is good. It's about 18 verses, but it's a very good chapter. Let's see, Psalm chapter 10, start off at verse 1. It says, Why standest thou afar off, O Lord Yahweh? Why hidest thyself in the times of trouble? Slack this shit close to me. It says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined, and the device that they've imagined is this whole AI surveillance thing, because that's a big time power move, man. Okay, if you have knowledge off of everything people do, you can use it against them. Okay, if you know what everyone is doing and everyone is thinking and what people are saying, you can influence the way people think about what's going on. Okay, when you have power over the media, you can influence where you want people to go. The perception of people with the means of AI, all this data, this fake AI, and all these different things, they have means to manipulate the minds of the people, like on an unprecedented level, like never before. Right? That's why Yahushua said, if it were possible, they would have deceived the very elect, but it's not possible. All right, but it's strong enough to deceive everybody else who's not of the elect. Okay? So, hey, man, these devils got some type of power, man. The Lord gave them that power. Okay? It says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord Yahweh abhorreth. Okay? And all these tech giants, they're all covetous demons. Okay? Their greed is never enough. All right? That's why it tells you that in the book of Habakkuk, it says, whose desire is like hell. Okay? He can never be satisfied. Okay? They make so much money and yet they still want to make more. Look what's going on in the so-called car industry now. They're saying vehicles from, models made after 2020 and up. All right? For the most part, you're going to have a lot of faulty issues and stuff like that. Because these billionaire corporations are making so much money now, probably the most they've ever made. Okay? But yet they want to make more. So now they're creating cars with cheap parts. So when you buy it, you drive about 60,000 miles plus, you're going to have all these issues. And typically 60,000 plus miles is where you have that post 3-year warranty that they normally give. Okay? So now you're going to have all these issues and you got to keep coming back, and you can't just send your truck or your car to a regular mechanic to fix. because everything is now codes, millions of code, millions and millions of codes, right? That you got to send it back to the dealership for them to fix. And sometimes these dealerships don't even have the right technicians or car mechanics, right? They have no knowledge on what's going on. Everything is all codes, like I said. So everything is all done through a computer. And if they don't know how to use that computer, they can't work on your truck. See? But you have to go back to them, go buy parts from them. You can't get it from anywhere else, right? They make cheap parts. You got to keep buying and replacing, and they got to pay. Oh, it's just the greed, all right? The greed. So continuing, it says, verse 4, it says, the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not at all in his thoughts. Okay? Everything they do, they're not thinking that the Lord is in there. They're not factoring in, all right, the good and bad of their decision, because to them it's not about that. It's about how do we accomplish our goal and how do we do it in the least expensive way possible. Okay? It says, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As far, Slaki, I can barely see this. Hold on. Bring that shit here. It says, Psalm 10 verse 5. It says, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Right. So that's why when we speak of the judgment that's coming, to them is like, wait, what are you guys talking about? Because to them it's like, oh, we're not even close to that. We have all the power. We can make God as angry as we like. We don't care, right? That's the mindset of these devils, man. And you want us to come and sit at the table with them? You want us to come and agree with them? You want us to allow them to keep on doing this shit? No, we not. No, we not. No, we not. No, we not. All right? No, we not. Okay? We're not doing it. We're not going down like that. All right? You got this whole game messed up, boy. It says, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. Right? Well, I mean, when you have billions and trillions of dollars and you have control over the whole entire world, right? I mean, of course you have a mindset like this. Okay? His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Okay? Who's that talking about? Who fits the mold of cursing and deceit and fraud? All right? The whole system is based on that. Okay? And that's part of the reason why they're going to be destroyed. All right? Isaiah 14 tells you that. All right? It says, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. All right? You got all these abortion clinics. You got all this, what they call eugenics programs. Okay? Fucking devils, man. Okay? His eyes are privily set against the poor, right? But he also sitteth in the lurking, he sitteth in the lurking places in the villages, right? They always got some type of technology, some type of surveillance somewhere, watching you, listen to what you're saying, so they can use it against you. It's called data mining. Okay? It says he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den, right? You got these state troopers in the corner, right? He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net, right? You driving out of nowhere, you get pulled over. Next thing you know, your life is in danger. All because, your license and registration is expired. We gotta pop you out of there. Yeah, oh shit. As he croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones, right? So what you see now, the preparation of martial law, like we read, they're setting up the stage for violence. You're seeing violence all across your states, all across your cities, like never before. And you're going to throw your hands up and say, federal government, do something. And the only thing open will be martial law. Okay? So let's go back to the reading. All right, the article, it says here, it says the system, if implemented, would reportedly draw on publicly available data, social media, purchase histories, online behavior, and run it through a proprietary model trained to flag pre-attack indicators. This is the latest in the growing private sector surveillance grid aimed at American citizens operating under the guise of public safety. Okay, when they shall say peace and safety, then suddenly you know it. It says Cohen isn't a fringe voice in this space. He's been platformed by major news companies, praised for counterterrorism credentials, and is now pushing this surveillance concept on national television. But behind the buzzwords of AI and safety lies something much older and darker: the normalization of mass data collection without oversight. SocialNet, a similar tool, has been described by Jeremy Scott, senior counsel at Epic, as part of an unchecked surveillance ecosystem that lacks any meaningful transparency, oversight, or accountability. A description that maps well to Aaron Cohen's proposed Gideon. Okay, Gideon. Now, when you go into the name Gideon, all right, the name Gideon literally means hewer or a feller, right? When you hew something, that means you're a cutter. You cut it, right? Let's see, hew. To hew, right? It's to chop, to hack, to gash, to strike with a cutting weapon or tool. Okay, sounds very familiar to what Palantir is pushing. Okay, they have something known as the kill chain, right? Kill chain. We know what that is, right? Where they use AI to identify targets, and then the AI can formulate a plan on how to get the target, and then the AI can carry out the set operation against that target, pretty much ending in the target's unaliving. Okay, just like you see going on in Gaza right now, the land of what they call Palestine, the Palestinians. What's going on with them? The so-called ethnic cleansing that's happening there. That's the political correct way of saying genocide, right? What's going on over there is them preparing to bring over here against anyone who might be considered a dissident or a domestic T or the one that they put on the top of everything else. Forget about domestic T's. The one on the top, the anti-Sem. Yeah. Once you're labeled that, ooh, that's going to come with a whole lot. Okay? Because you're going directly against the J's and their narratives. And at that point, they're going to label you whatever they need to label you, so they're justified in whatever judgment they're going to bring upon you. All right? So a little bit more on Gideon, or in this case, hewer, right? Gideon, or to hew, is as to strike, to hammer, to forge, right? Right? Let's read. It says here, let's see, do I have a little bit more on that? Right, to strike. So we got that already, right? So that's what Gideon means. Okay, so it's very interesting that they'll use the name Gideon, all right, for their so-called technology. And what is it going to do? Nomen omen. It's designed to strike, to cut, to kill, okay, to chop, to gash, all right? Again, to strike with a cutting weapon. Okay, it says AI detection and mass surveillance without consent. The real issue isn't just the tech, it's the lack of guardrails. License plate monitoring platform Flock, for example, has been responsible for incorrect arrests, misuse by a police lieutenant to stalk an estranged wife, and misidentifying vehicles as stolen. Right? It says, so you're bringing in technology to fix a problem that is fundamentally flawed. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. It says Aaron Cohen's claim that he's building the first AI-powered threat detection system, which is false because Palantir already has that, seems to be drastically hyperbolic, with SocialNet boasting similar functionality and Palantir, who have allegedly already secured hundreds of millions of dollars in government funding. All right, no, it's billions. $10 billion contract is not millions, okay? Which may be used on similar surveillance tools, which will likely leverage AI. And we know what AI means: heap of ruins, okay? It says surveillance has evolved rapidly over recent years, with the current developments being a fusion of open source intelligence, social media surveillance, behavioral prediction modeling, facial recognition, which eventually will be showing up soon here in America, right? Like never before. Okay, it's all part of the data entry exit system. Facial recognition is going to be a part of that. It says network mapping, modern artificial intelligence. Okay, And you can call that modern artificial intelligence warfare, because that's what they're going to use that intelligence for. It's warfare against the people. Okay? It says the pitch is always the same. Quote, we can stop bad things before they happen, end quote. But this logic has long been criticized by privacy advocates, legal scholars, and even former intelligence professionals. Predicting future crime based on digital footprints may open the door to more false positives, racial profiling, and political targeting. Okay, so they know these things are all part of what's going to happen with this whole AI thing, and normal people are going to say, nah, we ain't with this shit. So they have to create what you've seen around the various cities. So these shootings that you're seeing, these mass shootings, these violent acts and all, it's all done by design. If they want to stop it, it would stop a long time ago. If they didn't want these things to happen, it wouldn't happen. Okay? It wouldn't happen. So they allow it to happen. They encourage it to happen. Okay? They sometimes they foster these things via way of FFs. Okay, digamma, right? False flag. They do these things, inside jobs, right? To create that reaction that they're looking for. Okay, so these problems are created for a certain specific reaction. And then the real action is in the reaction. That's when they can bring that solution that they've always wanted, that you would have said no to. So they had to convince you to allow them to make it a yes. See? And it's going to be an easy, a lot more people are going to say yes when your food banks or your grocery stores are much emptier, and the little that's left in there that's almost rotten is skyrocketing in price, right? Today you can go in there, you can see sirloin steak that's been there for 2 weeks, damn near looking green and yellow and blue in the packaging, right? And it's been sitting there and it's discounted for $5.99 from $15 because it's been sitting there for so damn long. To next week you go over there and that same piece of meat is still sitting there a week older, but now it's tripled or quadrupled in price. Now what? You want that 3-month-old sirloin steak that's been sitting on the shelf for that long? It's better than nothing, right? It's better than nothing. You know these American people, they'll eat anything. Niggas eat McDonald's. They stop at McDonald's for breakfast before they go into the office to work and go sit on their ass for 8 hours or so and then come back home and stop at McDonald's again for dinner. These people are done. Why are we talking about it? They're done. It's over with. Okay? So continuing, it says here, and you notice it says racial profiling. This all this technology that they putting up is not because they want to stop violence and shit. They want to know more about you, Jakes. Oh, they waking up. We need to know exactly where they waking up at, where they at, how do we get to them? All right. So get ready, man. Jacob's trouble indeed. And they're using Gideon, who is an Israelite. All right. They're going to use a technology named an Israelite to come against Israelites. See how the devil works? There's a real overreach problem when it comes to surveillance. But Aaron Cohen's Gideon isn't really part of it. Why? Cohen's platform isn't a government operation yet, right? It's being positioned as a commercial service available to law enforcement and security focused agencies, but he's gunning hard for government funding via media appearances. To date, Gideon doesn't appear to have secured any government funding. Not only that, but it doesn't appear to even exist yet. Okay? Aaron Cohen's claim on Fox News, I have just built Sean, the first AI-powered threat detection system for law enforcement that scans the open web for radicalization and tactical planning. And if someone in the Trump administration is listening, partner with me and let's scale this. Shut the fuck up, man. Tired of these devils, bro. Partner with you? Who the hell is you? Okay? But again, they know that they have but a short time. That's why they sound so desperate, right? When did a billionaire ever worry so much about people's safety, man? When? If it doesn't aid his pockets, why do you think he'll ever go into it? Huh? When their whole philosophy is about making money, what makes you think your safety is anything they'll ever worry about? Huh? They don't care about that. Okay? But they have to tell you that they care about that in order for you to allow it. Because if not, you wouldn't. And because you keep saying no, now they got to create all this false flag shit just so they can convince you that you need them to protect you from the false flag shit that they keep creating. It's very simple. Okay, all these things are being done by design. It says the reality is Aaron Cohen is trying to raise seed funds to build an MVP. That's a minimum viable product. Even in its most basic form, Aaron Cohen's Gideon isn't ready for use, let alone scaling, government contracts, or national rollout. Yeah, that's what they say, but I believe it's ready. They're not going to put it out there if it's not ready. Okay? They're not going to put it out there if it's not ready. It says, of all the surveillance tools that are currently being used, the fictitious Gideon is probably not one you need to worry about. Well, you should worry about it. When they say don't worry, that's when you should worry. He said, but there's still a real problem here. A growing industry of private surveillance companies selling detailed information about U.S. citizens and non-citizens, meaning everyone. Your digital footprint is probably bigger than ever and is being monitored and harvested by private companies ad nauseum with minimal oversight or consent. Okay? So this is exactly what the hell is going on, man. All right, this devil is trying to use names like Gideon, all right, meaning hewer, all right, or to chop you down. Okay, he's naming his technology after names like Gideon. Okay, ain't that some shit? Right? Ain't that some shit? Now let's finish off in Psalm 10. Okay, let's finish off in Psalm 10 because we need, all right, Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua to step in when it comes to these things, man. Really everything, but especially in these times that we're entering into. Okay? And he will, because it tells you in Daniel the 12th chapter. Okay? So continuing in Psalm 10. Actually, you know what, I think I did finish Psalm 10. I think I did finish what I wanted to read. So let's jump right into, I think I quoted this in Isaiah, but we're going to get that and we're going to close it out real quick. All right. This is a book of Isaiah chapter 14. We start off at verse 4. It says, verse 3. Let's start with 3. It says, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased, right? So the oppressor, okay, how did they oppress? They oppress no way other than the damn so-called banking system. Okay, having a system of debt, inextinguishable debt, as it tells you in the book of Habakkuk, right? Laden with heavy debt. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Which is Ibatyat in the Hebrew. Okay, it was Habakkuk 2. Let's get that real quick. And verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a proverb against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, right? And who are the ones who do that? These so-called banking families. It starts with them, the Rothschilds in them, okay? Through wars, through manipulations, through destruction, they have taken over the whole entire world and held it hostage, okay? If you don't let us put a central bank in your country and let us rule your monetary system, you cannot have a government. We're to take you down, fucking devils. Okay? It says, and to him that ladeth himself, no, it says, which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Okay, thick clay going into what? That debt. Okay, that heavy debt. That inextinguishable debt. Okay? So it says here, Isaiah 14:4, it goes into the same concept. Okay, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The oppressor, when you go to that word oppressor, it means what? A debtor. Okay? One who drives taxes, raiser of taxes, a taskmaster, so to speak. All right? A tyrannical harasser. Okay? And they used the banks, again, the banks to do that. You gotta, hey, it tells you that Haggai, all right, that you work and you fill your bags filled with holes. Okay, you can never make it happen. You're always working. You gotta pay taxes. Everything you do, you pay taxes, including the work that you do. You work and you pay taxes on top of that. You working, but you paying taxes on top of that. Okay, it says how had the golden city ceased, right? Golden city, go into that word, golden city, or that phrase, golden city. It goes into exactress. Okay, exactress meaning to tax you. Okay, a system of unequal, unbalanced taxes. Okay, it's uneven weights, unbalanced weights, I should say. Okay, that's Esau for you. That's the system for you. All right, and that's why you can never make it. You can never hack it, so to speak. If you go to Miami or if you go down to Florida, your income is going to be less because the living, the cost of living is much cheaper compared to maybe a place like New York or LA or whatever the case may be. You might make more money, but that's because it's required for you to spend more money, right? Just to live. You see, so it's always some form of balance in there, but it's all imbalanced. You see, so this place is going to be destroyed. All right. So continue in verse in Isaiah 14 and verse. Wait, where did I stop off? There you go. Verse 5. It says, "The Lord Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers." Right. He's crushed the power of these devils, man. Okay. "He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth." Right. So when these devils are taken down, nobody's gonna get up and be like, "Oh, but they didn't know." What good did you do for the world? Look at the direction the world is going into right now. When you think of the outcome that they're looking for, it doesn't spell nor bode well for humanity at all. And it seems like we're the only ones who have the balls to say something about it. Okay. And our God is the only one who's gonna be able to do something about all these things that's happening. Okay, that's why we're the only ones who have that hope, the spirit of hope. Hope of what? Hope and salvation. Okay, the rest of the world, they have no idea what the hell's going on. To them, it's just direction of the world. What can we do to stop it? There's nothing you can do to stop it. Okay, it must happen, and then while it's happening, the Lord delivers His elect from it, and then destroys the whole thing as it's going on. That's how it happens. And if you're caught into it, you get destroyed as well with it. Okay. It says, verse 7, it says, "The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fair trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us." Okay, the word feller is back here again. Okay, when you go into that word feller, which is very interesting why they use that name, right? Gideon, right? Feller here says to cut off, to cut down, to cut off a body part, to cut out, to eliminate, to kill. All right, to cut a covenant. Ooh, right? It says to cut off. So Gideon means feller, right? A feller or somebody who chops things down. All right. So they're using that same name to use to let you know we're about to cut you down. They kind of make war against the Holy One, against His saints. Okay. So since you are down, no feller has come up against us. Okay, because that's all you do. You're the feller, the one who chops down the trees. Okay, and deforestation. You're going to the Amazon, talking about you're going to chop up all the trees down there because you want to cut out carbon. Fucking devil, right? It says, "Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations." Right? So they can't wait to see you down there, you devil. "All they that speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee." All right, that's a sign of you going down. Okay, worms are they what's the word? They get things to be cankered, right? They eat things and make it canker, right? So they'll erode things, they destroy things, right? It's a form of degradation, if you will. They break things down, okay? They degrade things, right? It says, verse 12, there's a key. "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" Right? That the Lucifer is going into what? The Illuminati, the enlightened ones, the light bearers. Okay, in the Hebrew is Let me see. Hayalal, if I'm not mistaken. See if we can pull that up real quick. Right. Yep. The Hebrew is Hayalal, which means light bearer. Okay. Light bearer, which is illuminated ones, the ones who believe to have the light, but it's all on the left-hand side. Okay. They do have the secret societies and so on and so forth. Right. So that's how they have all the power. Okay. So the light bearers, the enlightened ones, the Illuminati, the top elites of this society, right? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Okay. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mountain of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And that's going to happen. It tells you in the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter. Okay, Revelation 12 and 7, going into the war in heaven. All right, which is also recorded. All right, same event, different prophet by Ezra going into Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. Okay, about the return of our Lord and the clash that happens in heaven, which results in Esau being taken out of place. Okay, so continuing, it says, they that see thee, this is Isaiah 14 and 16, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? Huh? Oh, see? So these prophecies are, it's like the prophecies right now is almost like mugshots of Esau. All right, it's mugshots of Esau. As you read the prophecy, the only person you see is Esau. So we're reading the prophecies and we got Esau's mugshot right there, and the world is looking at it. Is this the man that? Yeah, that's him. We're highlighting them right now for you. All right, and then after that comes the judgment. See, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, man. So yeah, man, we almost out of here. All right, we almost out of here, man. This devil is about to be taken up out of here. All right, swept up out of here, man. You know what I'm saying? With the cleanest broom there is. You ain't gonna see no dust particle of this devil. He's gonna be out of here. Okay, completely. All right, like he never existed. Okay, so enjoy, man. Enjoy while you still can. All right, but you remember your tricks, your wiles, all right, your schemes is all being exposed by way of this truth. Okay, with the spirit of the Lord's mouth, and ultimately with the brightness of his coming. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it off there low, and you're edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, and until next time, Shalom.